Day 14 of quarantine. My beard looks like a chia pet. Every day feels the exact same like Groundhog Day. I have no idea when this is gonna end. And there's this underlying fear and uncertainty right now everywhere you go. It may sound like I'm just talking about COVID-19 and the pandemic that's going on, but the truth is, this is very similar to a military deployment. In fact, they're eerily similar. I had a chance to talk with some of my friends and fellow veterans, and they were kind enough to share their experiences and even gave some advice on how they managed their time during their deployments to make it a little bit easier on them. So hopefully you can use some of these tips to help you not only survive, but flourish with our shelter-in-place and stay-at-home orders. So take a couple minutes, check it out.
Hi, I'm Katie, and I was deployed in Kuwait in 2010 and 2011.
I'm JB. I spent 6 years in the Air Force after going to the Air Force Academy with Sergio, and spent 6 months deployed to Soto Cano Air Base in Honduras.
Hey guys, my name is Victor Thompson. They call me Vic. My friends closest to me call me Victorious. I was deployed from September 2009 to May of 2010 in Iraq. Mission top secret, destination unknown.
Mike, I was deployed to Iraq, Baghdad specifically, in 2009 to 2010.
Right.
My name is Jeanette Tarquino. I did 17 years in the Navy, medically retired 2 years ago.
Okay.
So I've deployed to the Persian Gulf twice, once outside of Somalia and once in the Gulf itself.
My name's Vinny Santangelo. I was in the U.S. Air Force. I deployed to Balad, northern Iraq, Joint Base Balad in 2011. I was there for 6 months.
With deployments, the important thing to do is to take one day at a time. You don't look at how long we're going to be in this situation, or it's going to drag on forever. So just one day at a time, wake up, maybe cross another day off, and don't look how many we have left.
What really worked for me though was coming up with a solid routine, both just daily routine and weekly routine, and sticking to it. And that's, getting up, working out, eating, working, going through those things that every day you kind of plan and sticking to that routine. So at the end of the day, you feel like you've accomplished something.
So a few things that I made sure that I was doing every day is I was for sure working out, just trying to stay fit, because it was a good, you need to there's a lot of stuff going on. You need to take care of your health, number one, and you get time to do that.
After the first few weeks of getting situated in Iraq and getting situated at the base I was at, I would say I made myself have a routine or a schedule that I kind of followed. Working 12 hours a day, pretty much 7 days a week. You don't really have a lot of off time, but when you do have off time, like that 12 hours you're not working essentially, and you have to sleep some of that time, just that there's few hours that you actually have some freedom to kind of do something, really making sure that I just did the most I could, whether that be talking to my friends and family through Skype, or working out, but kind of sticking to a routine. So, I think that's probably, it was kind of like creating normalcy in an abnormal environment. Not really, I couldn't control what was going on around me as far as, situation, as far as like the terrorists or Al-Qaeda or ISIS trying to attack the base. But the things I could control essentially was my daily routine.
Making sure that you're cutting out those times specifically for yourself. Always finding something that you enjoy doing and making sure you're doing it. Like I used to always watch movies on deployment because it kept me kind of sane, breaking up the monotony, watching movies, hanging out with friends, doing that.
One of the big themes of this situation we're in right now is kind of really finding the things that are in your control and focusing on those. And when I was in Iraq, I was working 12-hour days, but so a lot of that time was spent working, but at the same time, it was just kind of figuring out the things that I can control and really just putting my time and energy into those.
Just to take time for yourself at the end of the day. If you're like me and you've got kids running around the house, husband working, you're exhausted by the end of the day. No one gets social distancing from each other, from your quarantine crew. And so at the end of the day, just take whatever routine that is. And during deployment, I would watch a movie, talk to my loved ones, and then here it's the same thing. It's just like we decompress at the end of the day, just with the news, which isn't as relaxing right now, but or just a movie, a glass of wine. We didn't have that during deployment, so one or two, not too many. But yeah, it's just a good way to breathe at the end of the day and get ready to do it again.
Also, staying super connected with friends, family, as much as you can. FaceTime all the time when you're in Honduras on your own. You gotta stay connected with your family, and it just helps with that morale. And then
really connecting with whoever your group is, whether it's a support group or business or, I don't care what you're doing, tea making club, whatever it is, just touch base with them.
And controlling something that, I know I can't control, when everything outside of, my control, like the pandemic, is something I really can't do anything about. So just trying to be as routine and scheduled as I possibly can, but also knowing the fact that I would say some things aren't going to go as planned or as scheduled. So like rainy days, for instance, that means that the scheduled usual walk that we do in the afternoon to get the kids and the family out of the house and walk around the neighborhood for a few hours might not happen that day. So just kind of fill the void some other way.
When you're in deployment, especially on a ship, and you don't see the sun for many days, you can find yourself doing that inside your house. So I always, I have an office, but my office doesn't have very good lighting. So I come to the kitchen because I have a lot of natural light. So trying to find ways to bring in natural light so that you're not around fluorescent lights all the time, because that really, it makes a difference.
Because that was a big part of it too, is just finding some things to explore and learn about yourself and pursue some things that, whether or not that continued for a long time, were ways for me to learn about myself and where my strengths were, what my weaknesses were, which direction I wanted to go. And so exploration was a big part of that.
The next thing during a deployment, sometimes, you feel a little isolated. It's not the time to become an island. It might be the easy thing to do, just to kind of go on cruise control and just kind of cut yourself off from the world. And it's really important to not do that, especially if it starts to be your comfort zone. You need to reach out to your friends and family, stay plugged in whatever way that means to you, whether it's sending emails, doing Zoom videos with your friends. Skype was what we had back then. And so you stay plugged in. That's really important for yourself and for your loved ones.
And you got to reward yourself. And when you do it, get yourself some wine, hang out, watch a movie. You earned it, man.
Yeah, I remember when I was deployed, because we'd get these packages, and you'd only get one for every 6 weeks. And so I would like ration out, be like, all right, in 2 weeks, I'm going to eat this stuff. And then in 2 weeks, I'll eat that. And it was like a reward. It was like a carrot. So I totally agree with that. I think that's a great one.
Write a letter and give thanks. I know I was writing letters home, which was weird because my mom would like always write me letters, even, just normally. So I started writing her back. So if you're not getting, those things feel good, right? I know it's better to give than receive. But if you're not receiving things, definitely start giving.
Help.
Yeah.
So if you feel the need to do something where you can maybe potentially help just as a normal human being that's kind of mixed into this whole thing. The one thing I'm planning on doing is going to give blood. I know I can go to give blood. They say it's safe to go do something like that. So, I mean, even just the fact I'm going to already scheduled to do that in the next few weeks, it kind of makes me feel better about contributing something. So not feeling completely helpless either. So I can kind of help the situation by doing something very minor.
Yeah.
Setting yourself a schedule, but making sure you're also scheduling those days and that time for yourself, and saying, hey, I like to watch movies, I like to sing, I like to dance, play music in the background. Allow yourself to have something that brings some joy into your life, so you're not stuck in front of a computer.
I think it's we're either put into adversity or adversity comes to us. And I think right now it was given to us unwanted. This is not the scenario that we wanted it to play out. But you hit something on the head where when you have that adversity and it's looking at you in the face, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to explore and look into those emotions and maybe create a better relationship with them so that you can understand yourself better? Or do you retreat and kind of sit back? And there's no judgment on either one, but I think this opportunity is, hopefully it's a once in a lifetime thing where we have the chance that we're forced into this uncomfort and we are forced to grow. So I think that's cool that you touched on that.
If you've got a special occasion or a celebration or a birthday or Easter's coming up and we're still in this situation, of course it's not ideal, but you know what? It's kind of time to make it a memorable one and do something special that you never would have thought of before. I was deployed during Thanksgiving and Christmas and some of the other holidays, and we all got together and we made gingerbread houses, which is ridiculous for adults to get together and do, but just fun, silly things like that you're going to look back on and remember. It's just a good opportunity to do that and to look back on.
That's what I got, man. Then you get through it and just know you'll get through it. You'll be better for it. So
some exercise in, whether it's running up and down the stairs. And I go to school for kinesiology, and so we learned a lot about this, but exercising doesn't have to be fancy. Really doesn't. It can be so simple. It's a matter of get up and do a couple squats, drop it down and do a couple push-ups. Just move and get your heart rate moving a little bit, and it'll make you feel better.
Another saying in the military we have is to shut up and color. Sounds harsh, but it totally applies. Guess what? Is this ideal? No. Are we in charge? No. Our leadership says to shelter in place and stay in your house and only go out to exercise. And all of our jobs are to listen and just stay put and think of the greater good. Yes. Is it inconvenient? Is it inconvenient? Yes. Is it important to do and stay put? Yes. So don't try to question it. Listen, shut up and color, stay in your house.
If you're looking to manage your stress or your emotions, or even go the other way with it and, ramp yourself up and get yourself energized and alert, the breath is a great way to do that.
I just run in, man. If there's an opportunity to deploy or there's a crisis, go to it. Find out who you are. Bring a buddy.
Do something where I could look forward to something that's like in the future. So I knew so-and-so was going to come to our base and perform. So it was 3 weeks out. So I'd have like a little mini countdown because, I mean, as well as I do, like it's a long stretch. And trust me, 7 months, it goes by fast, but being away for 7 months, and I know a lot of other people that have been deployed a lot longer than that. So I really can't complain too much, but 7 months is a long time when you're in a situation like that. Or you're in a situation like this where you don't know when the end is going to be. So just if there are things that you could do, even like virtual events, like where you set up a virtual happy hour with some friends you haven't seen in a while. That's like, I think that things like that can kind of help the time go by because you have something to look forward to. It kind of breaks up that routine a little bit. And you have something to look forward to in the future.
I think whether you are doing intentional breath work or not, the fact that you're paying attention to that stuff or paying attention to your breath is a way to, again, learn about yourself and also manage your state and your mind and your emotions. And that was a big part of it for me.
Which exercise. Even though you might not normally work out at home, you figure out what to do. And then during a deployment, you work out with what you've got. And it might be different than what you've got back home, but you make do. The most important thing is to just keep moving, release that stress.
Yeah.
And even if it's just for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, it really does help just to take that break and sweat it out.
Not watching like Netflix for like 12 hours in a day. And then repeating that process and doing a little bit of work, like just trying to find like a balance of kind of a little bit of everything each day,
Right.
and trying to have a routine as much as possible. Because at some point we are going to have to go back to normal life.
Yeah.
And I mean, that adjustment. So say if we're in this situation for, say 2 or 3 months, and then we're going back to a situation where we have to put on pants and a belt and actually make sure we shave or, comb our hair, or shower at appropriate times. Like, I don't want to have to go through another adjustment period. I'd rather just be able to slowly but easily transition back into going back to an office environment every day.
On
Yeah.
my personal trainer certification at the time. I'd work out for a couple hours during that time, get a break.
Another thing would be to take care of yourself. It might sound silly, but when I was deployed, I still took 2 minutes to put on my makeup for myself, not for anyone else there, but for me, because that was one of the small things that I could control. And
Yeah.
it made me feel like me. Because when I looked in the mirror, nothing else for 7 months looked or felt like me. So little things like that. And I've noticed I've been doing that. Even though we can't really leave the house, I'm still taking my 2 minutes, and it just makes me feel better as I'm walking past the mirror during the day. Okay, still looking like myself.
That's all. So the one thing that helped me when I was going to deploy was taking advice from people who were there before me. And if you know another vet, please tag them below so that they can share their experiences and impart some of their advice so that we can get through this quarantine time together and be better for it. Make today your best day yet, and may the odds be forever in your favor.